Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on when you've tuned in to watch this recording, this edition of Hypnosis Week Live, with myself, Alex William Smith by birth, but better known to many of you as Jonathan Royal, the British bad boy of hypnosis and magicalguru.com. I'm delighted to welcome an amazing guest for what is episode 59 of the video broadcast, but is actually episode number 1 of season 2 for the audio podcast that we've just managed to get live. And if you've not seen the audio podcast yet, or rather listen to it, go to hypnosisweek.com and the link's just been added there because that's only gone live in the past sort of 7 days. So please welcome to this week's show a gentleman who's based in England. He is a highly successful hypnotherapist. He also does what arguably can be called stage and street hypnosis in certain contexts. And he is about to this Sunday, because this is being recorded for the record, on the 5th of May 2020. And this Sunday, the 10th of May 2020, this gentleman is going to be running a massive, monumentally huge, worldwide, online, interactive hypnotherapy anti-anxiety event that he's going to tell you more about during this interview. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Chris Hughes. How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah, now look, we are gonna get on to what is everyone's going to be sharing, hashtag social trance. We'll get on to that very, very shortly. But before we do, because this is Hypnosis Week and a lot of the viewers will be in some area of the psychological talking therapies, there was a time when you weren't a hypnotist. What is your journey that brought you to where you are now?
Gosh, that's quite an interesting one, actually. Yeah, I think it all started with me, like it probably does with a lot of people. Is you see it, you see something like a stage show. I was at university at the time. I was in Manchester. We had some guy came on, turned up at the student union, hypnotized a load of people. They all did crazy stuff. It wasn't you by any chance, was it, Jonathan? I don't think so.
But what year it was? I did Manchester University a lot.
It could have been. But anyway, I at the time kind of thought it was all just, I didn't really know what to think about it, but I thought it was something I wanted to have a look at. And it kind of sat in the back of my head for a few years. And then I eventually bumped into some guy who was training to be a hypnotist. And he stuck my hand to my face using just suggestion. And I just was laughing my head off, thinking this is absolutely hysterical. And that kind of made me want to, start to understand, how the hell is this happening? What's going on? I want to be able to do this. I want to do this at the pub. That's the kind of thought process I had. So I started looking around like a lot of people, and there's 101 ways of doing everything. And the problem is you can, I suppose, when you're starting this, you can get to a point where you get information overload, as you know, Jonathan. You get absolute information overload. There's people telling you to do it this way. There's people telling you to do it that way. And you end up going, I have no idea. I've got all this information, but I've got no idea really where I need to start. Mm-hmm. So I kind of started with my own little sort of bits and pieces, started playing with it myself. And I had this guy who was 15. He used to come around and mow my grass. And after reading a bit about doing some hypnosis, I'd sort of say to him, hey, do you fancy doing a bit of relaxation? I mean, I wouldn't say hypnosis because that would probably scare him. But I always went down there, let's do a bit of relaxation, just a bit of relaxation. It made me feel great. So I'd sit him down in a chair and I would talk to him about it. And I just noticed that he started going into this kind of suggestible state as such. And I managed to stick his hand to his leg, the same as somebody had done to me, but obviously to my face. And he just started laughing his head off. And I was laughing my head off. This is absolutely brilliant. And it kind of grew from there. And then after a few weeks, he said, do you think you can stop me smoking? So, I jumped online. I Googled some anti-stop smoking stuff. Just thought, sod it, we'll have a go, see what happens. And he stopped smoking, believe it or not. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then then he then spoke to a few of his friends. A couple of his friends then wanted to come round and have a go and stop smoking. Then what happens is you go into this mode, which I like to call the God mode, where you believe that suddenly you could do absolutely anything, right? And you believe for some weird reason this thing goes off in your head where you believe you can hypnotize anybody, and I mean anybody. And you just wait, because what happens is somebody will then completely set you up to fail and embarrass the hell out of you in front of an awful lot of people. And that brings you crashing back down to ground. And I've met a lot of people in the past who've done exactly that. They've had a bit of success. They've got into this mode of being able to supposedly hypnotize everybody. Mm-hmm. Somebody's embarrassed the hell out of them, and then they've just never done it again. I think it's a real shame. But you learn when these people are trying to set you up, and it's always the people who are really, I suppose, they're over enthusiastic about being hypnotized, and you know they're just doing it because they want to make you look like a complete idiot, you know. So, and then of course that journey just kept going. More people started to want to see me, and then somebody said, "Do you think you could help me control my eating?" And it just grew from there. And as you know, that's kind of how it starts. It progresses.
Before, I mean, I know the answers to a lot of these questions, but the viewers and listeners at home probably don't. Although you would do if you go to the link that will be underneath this video or underneath the audio podcast, which will be the various websites that get mentioned, including Chris's main one and also the one for Social Trance. But before you got into hypnosis, you worked in sound studios and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, from the age of about 14, 15, I was hanging out in recording studios, engineering for bands. Yeah, I mean that's what I did. You know, I
mentioned that because I think there's a lot of, well, the more I've been interviewing people for these shows, Glenn Harrold, Britain's biggest selling audio self-help author, for example, he comes from a music background, was in a band and stuff, and there's a lot of, I'm coming across more and more people that had some involvement in music before they got into.
I've got all the music gear here. There's my mixing desk. I've got my keyboard.
Can you see they're still around? Because I mean, McKenna is an example. He was a DJ before he was a hypnotist. I'm coming across more and more people, and I think it's, call it synchronicity, coincidence, whatever. But I think that people who've had a musical involvement on some level have more of a chance naturally, with slightly less effort, of becoming a good hypnotist, because music is about rhythms and composition and stuff, and so is a good hypnotic induction and suggestions.
Yeah, it's a bit like most people can sing, but whether they're a singer is a different thing altogether. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference between being able to sing and being a singer. You know, somebody who's a singer is somebody like Adele, but I know a few girls who can sing a tune in tune. Thing is, you can learn that, but whether you're actually good at delivering it is something that I think you kind of you are either good at or you're not. You know, and I think that's very important, especially when delivering, you know, the induction or suggestions and all the other bits and pieces. You know.
I also suspect when people, there'll be a lot of people watching, listening to this who have already heard of you for reasons that we'll come to very shortly. They most likely will have done, or moment we mention that ties in with what's happening this weekend, they'll go, "Oh, that's the guy." But before we get to that, I also think for people who go looking, they'll go, "Oh, here he is with such and such a reality TV star. Here he is with such and such another reality TV star. Or here he is with this other TV star." Has that come about partly because, you know, the whole sound recording industry and stuff, the social circles, as it were? Is that through social networking that you've come into these circles and ended up been doing, you know, therapy and hypnosis in those kind of circles?
I mean, it's a bit of both. You know, I don't do an awful lot of videos. I don't really. I've done a few bits of kind of like ad hoc on the street style stuff, just because I feel that the people need to see something happen in order to even open their eyes to the idea of hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy to film is the most boring thing on the planet. But most people, their only introduction to hypnosis is through seeing somebody forget the name, or having somebody have their hands stuck together, just something simple. So I tend to like to stick to that sort of really simple stuff. And the thing is, through being invited to events to do demonstrations, I like to call them demonstrations more of them. It's not really a show, a hypnosis show as such. I don't really get a load of chairs out and do that whole sort of thing. I tend to kind of try and make it educational but fun at the same time. So the idea being that when they leave, they understand, what's the best way to find a hypnotherapist, what are the best websites to look at, what is the process. Don't just go and see a hypnotherapist just because they've got a nice website. Ask to speak to somebody they've done work with. Get a referral if you can. So I sort of mix it all together, and through that I've been invited to a lot of these charity dues, and I end up just giving my time for free in the evening. But then a lot of the other ones, for example, people like Sean Williamson, Barry from EastEnders, he'll openly say how I've helped him several times with bits and pieces.
If you're not in England, tap into YouTube, EastEnders, Sean Williamson or Barry EastEnders, and then you'll know exactly who. He's a big star out here.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, people. So a lot of them you see me with. I'm either with them because they've done therapy and I've ended up being invited to somewhere with them. That is normally the case. But then a lot of them are just people that I've met through other people, and we've done events together and we've raised money for charity, that sort of thing. I do tend to keep myself to myself as a little bit, but I do like to get out there. If I've got any sort of chance to promote hypnotherapy, I will do that because I believe as it's a therapy that's completely underused. I completely disagree that you can't have fun with hypnosis and be a therapist at the same time. A lot of therapists seem to think that even doing a little bit of stuff on the street is wrong, and it is. But the sad thing is, unless you do that, nobody will know you exist. Nobody will know that hypnotherapy is something that can help you. I mean, I've done a show before and I've had somebody, forget their name. And off the back of that, I've had people come up to me and go, well, if you can get her to forget her name, maybe you can help me with this issue I've had for 20 years with dogs, Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. We need to keep the both. We need to promote hypnotherapy and hypnosis in a positive way, using education and the entertainment side, but keep it serious but entertaining. Find that middle ground, and it works great. It works great for my business. It works great for everybody else.
Let's not forget, for viewers and listeners, this will upset some, I'm sure, just as what you just said probably will upset one or two who are stuck in the mud, brainwashed by the way they've been taught. But without stage hypnotists, there probably wouldn't be a hypnotherapy industry now. Off the top of my head, Gil Boyne was a stage hypnotist, the cowboy hypnotist. Orman McGill was a stage hypnotist, but these are massive names in the hypnotherapy world. Dave Allman was a stage hypnotist. I would even argue Milton Erickson was a stage hypnotist. He certainly took a perverse delight in going doing public demonstrations and showing off what he did to crowds. Yeah. Arguably, that is the same. Tom Silver is, Paul McKenna, we know. You go through, without stage hypnotists, we probably wouldn't have an industry now. And yet it's sad that some of these boys' clubs, I won't mention names, but clubs that get you to pay yearly membership fees, because then that means you're clearly a skilled therapist, allegedly, have rules that say you're not allowed to associate stage hypnosis with your therapy practice. So
I know.
nonsense.
As far as I'm concerned, people can take me as I am. If you don't like it, you can just go and find somebody else who sits in a room all the time, never. I mean, it's a classic example. I mean, it's like I get invited to a lot of barbecues. Well, I did before we get locked down, and I know why. It's invite him to the barbecue. He'll have a couple of drinks. You never know. He might do some. He might do a bit of entertainment at the end. Because as soon as you tell people you're a hypnotist,
yeah,
first thing they're gonna say is, "Do you think you can hypnotize me?" And you don't want to go, sorry, I'm a therapist. I only do that stuff in the office. It's like, okay, it's very kind of end of conversation.
a lot of people do that, Lord, don't they, Chris? But there again, a lot of those are probably the ones who are quite often moaning in groups on social media that they're not getting enough clients.
Yeah, the issue is we get lazy. Well, what happens is you start off doing this, you get all fired up, you learn the rapid inductions, you learn the instant stuff, you learn all the fun stuff as part of your training, and then you get to the point where you're sat in an office and somebody comes in, and I've even found myself saying it in the past. You say to yourself, right, I'm going to do a rapid induction, and then they sit down and you're all fired up to do it, and then you just suddenly say, okay, just close your eyes. Because you kind of just you've suddenly just lost the balls to do it, sort of thing, and it's we need to be mindful of that. Hypnosis should be fun. A therapy session should be fun. Don't get lazy. Use all the different tools you've got in your box, because the thing is, if you don't, you end up just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and that's just my personal view on it, of course.
I couldn't agree more. And at which point then you may not consciously be aware, but people can end up getting a sort of sentence. I don't know if I want to use the word boredom, despondency, boredom, Groundhog Dayness about it, and even not at a conscious level, but they could be transmitting that in the voice tone and body language. And you see it so often on social media, therapists going, oh, I don't know why, this technique's worked for years, but suddenly it's not working. So they start seeking out other courses for a new wonder technique, where really, which then starts working for them wonderfully when they've done that course. So they think that must mean there was something wrong with the other technique. And I think it's what you've just said, that basically they probably got bored, despondent and lazy with it. And that's why it's not working.
Exactly.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, we're jumping.
Yeah, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we met. It is around 10 years ago.
It was January, so it's 10 years and 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah, it was just over. Yeah, but we met in Rochdale, Trance Fantasy Template in physical terms, and then you were setting up what is Social Trance, socialtrance.com, links below this video and audio podcast. Very important, because this Sunday, the 10th of May 2020, is the next Social Trance event, which Chris will explain in a moment. But we're starting off 10 years ago. You came up with this idea. For the viewers and listeners who don't know, obviously I do, and a lot of the people listening or watching probably already do. All the alarm bells are about to go off in a minute. They'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that. What was Social Trance? Because it went worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, Social Trance was funny. I hadn't been on Twitter long. I was just starting my Twitter sort of social media at the time, and social media wasn't particularly big at the time. I mean, it was kind of coming along. There certainly wasn't any live streaming. There was no live YouTube. There was none of that. And a few people on Twitter said to me, "Hey, Chris, do you think you could just do something live so that we can have a go?" And I thought, well, what the hell? Why don't I just set up a little website and see if we can get a few people to register? So I start doing this, and then literally it just starts getting more. There's just more and more people, and then I thought, well, oh God, I'm actually going to have to do this. So I thought, well, how am I going to do it? So So I contacted a company called, I think they were called Stream UK, and they were like an online web streaming service, because that's all it was. If you wanted to stream live on the internet, you had to pay for it.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we can do it. It won't cost you an awful lot of money. It'll be fine, whatever. So anyway, it then hits the Daily Telegraph, I think it then hit. And it started then just going mad because everybody sort of grabs content from the Daily Telegraph website, and it just started just to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, it just went completely mental. Then I think it was, I remember the Sunday night before the event on the Monday, I was sat on the sofa and literally just casually going through the channels, went over to Sky News, and Sky News were doing a papers review, and I basically had the whole of page 3 of the Independent. And there was these two guys talking about how what I was doing could be extremely dangerous, and how's he going to make sure that nobody's got any psychological problems and all this sort of stuff, which of course just meant more people wanted to do it. On the day of the event, the web server crashed. Everything went down because there was just too many people trying to access it. But the one thing I remember from that event is the sheer amount of hate that I got from hypnotherapists.
You certainly didn't from me, Chris. I was fully on board.
At all.
How brilliant it was.
Yeah, no, it not from you. I just meant there was so much kind of like, how dare you do this?
You were jealous.
Why? Yeah. There was the classic thing is, I remember I got invited to do a radio interview on some radio station in the Isle of Wight, and I went, yeah, okay, fine, I'll dial in, because I think I'd just previously done one live on South African radio, so it was a really random day, because I had my friends Mick with me, and we were literally scheduling in 5-minute slots.
For people at home who don't realise, if you go on Google and you type in Chris Hughes social trance, or Chris Hughes hashtag social trance, and search, and if need be add in the year 2010 as well, you will find articles in newspapers, magazines, on blogs, on websites, on a worldwide scale, and you'll find videos as well. One that made me laugh, I think it was either Chinese or Japanese TV, and rather than interview Chris, they'd made like a cartoon bloody character animated version of him that was explaining how it was going to work. Bizarre, I don't know, it made sense to their viewers, but it literally did. We talk about viral stuff now, but bear in mind this was 10 years ago, and as Chris said, there wasn't live streaming then. So this whole concept of it being a live streaming hypnotherapy.
There wasn't really hashtags. Hashtags were something that Twitter users invented at the time, in order that meant when we searched for stuff, we could try and find stuff that was relevant. That whole world exists. Anyway, going back to what I said about the Isle of Wight thing. So I get called onto this interview, and it's like you're sat on the phone waiting to go on air. Oh, I come on air, and this woman goes, yes, we've got Chris Hughes here talking about his event, and then they had their local hypnotherapist in the studio with them, and he's talking as if I'm not there, doing the whole, well, I think that what Chris is doing completely smacks of self-promotion and all this kind of stuff. And you think,
what's wrong with that?
Yeah, I know, but the stupid thing is I was kind of thinking, well, why are all these hypnotherapists going on their local radio station saying, hey, this event's going on, but I also do a similar thing. I'm in your area, I do hypnotherapy. Why wasn't people, using it as a way of
because the brain dead. I did exactly that. In so much, well, similar. I contacted you and said, look, cover yourself under the bloody laws. Put this on the bottom, and then I went around going, hey, I've given some legal advice towards social trance, so I could put hashtag social trance, still getting sign-ups for your site, but it then was attracting, it did get me therapy clients in my area. As you say, if they'd have thought, rather than attacking, rather than being jealous, rather than being, oh dear, the person who taught me therapy says you can't do things like this, realise that they could use the positive publicity you were getting to, at the same time as saying, go, take part in this online event, but if it doesn't fully help you as much as you would like, come and see your local therapist. That's all they needed to do. And they could have all been...
I mean, the funny thing is some of the understandings around hypnosis are so, I mean, even now, they're still not really that well understood. I remember I got an email from, I think it was the Christian Fellowship of something group in America. And they wanted me to send them an email assuring that none of their members would be affected by this if they were on Facebook during the time of the event. You know, I mean, it's bizarre because, you know, obviously they actually believed that being on Facebook was enough, you know.
No, as we know, people have to actively participate.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, so in 2010, the social trance event, you said a site crash, so you ended up having to record it as a recall, didn't you? And then put it out as a sort of replay.
I ended up doing the live bit, and then yeah, I mean, literally recorded it and put it down. But actually, the recording was done the day before due to the fact that the legal threats that I was getting is what stopped me from doing the hypnosis part live. So I ended up doing, I did like a live introduction to hypnosis, hypnotherapy, explained, you know, where the best places were to go to get hypnotherapy, you know, all the rules about it and how it works. And then the live part wasn't live. I actually ended up doing it as a recording due to the fact that I literally had emails from all over America, people just threatening to sue me if anything happens to them, and it just got.
I did say to you at the time, with what you had on the website, there was nobody had a legal leg to stand on, and I still stand by that. And I know that if people go to socialtrance.com, links below the video and podcast, to sign up for this Sunday, the 10th of May's event. There's a similar disclaimer on there. And this is happening live this time, yeah?
It's 100% going to be live this time, yeah.
Excellent, because I want to stress that when I share this around social media, I'm going to stress this is live. So
I mean, basically, I did a little live event, a live anxiety event in Birmingham, end of last year, purely really to test the whole thing and to understand what worked and what doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, it's 100% going to be live now. So you know, it's going to be good.
Now, this is happening this Sunday, the 10th of May, 2020. I stress that again, because if people are listening to this in years to come, then I would say go to socialtrance.com or hypnotherapy.co.uk. The links will be below, and see what future events you've got coming up. But regards this Sunday, it's at 8:30 p.m. British Summer Time, UK time, which is equivalent to 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern American time, and equivalent to 12:30 p.m. pretty much the rest of America. If you're anywhere else in the world, I will put a link for a world time clock converter below this so you can check it out. But it's a good time of day, so wherever you are in the world, you're not going to have to stay up mega late or get up mega early to participate. What's it going to consist of this Sunday?
So it's going to be I thought we'd have a bit of fun because I believe hypnosis should be fun. So it's going to start with a brief introduction as to what it is and what it isn't. You know, as far as I'm concerned, hypnosis as a thing doesn't exist. You know, I can't put electrodes on somebody's head and measure how much hypnosis they're doing. You know, hypnosis is more of a thing. It's a set of things we do together. You know, it starts with somebody relaxing in the chair normally. They close their eyes. You know, that's hypnosis. It's not. What I mean is, it's not a thing. It's not something we can measure. And then we'll have we'll do a little bit on health and safety. Make sure you're not listening to this while driving your car.
Yes.
That. And then I'm gonna probably attempt to see if we can stick some people's hands together. I've told other people who are getting involved to maybe, if you're at home with your family and you've got somebody else who's got a camera, film each other doing it. It could be ququite funny.
And then share it online with the hashtag social trance.
Yeah, social trance online, and then we'll find it. And also maybe seeing if we can get people to do sort of the more advanced suggestions of forgetting your name or or not being able to count. We'll see how we go. But the main bit at the front is essentially for everybody. I want everybody to get involved. I want people to be able to get an experience. And then the second part of it is a hypnotherapy anxiety session, specifically based around the current situation, but also giving a few people some tools of how to deal with anxiety. These are just things that I've used over the years that work very well. There's a lot of ways of giving suggestions for dealing with anxiety, but these are just my favorites, and I hope everybody else can get something out of it. And also, if any other therapists want to borrow any of it and make use of it, that's fine by me. I just want people to start to use hypnotherapy, to make their lives better. We've got a massive problem with mental health in the UK at the moment. We've got kids left, right, and centre killing themselves because nobody's giving them any support. And yet a simple thing like a bit of suggestion, in a relaxed state, is such an easy thing to do. And eventually, when we can start seeing clients again, we need to keep pushing this as a way of getting people to feel better about stuff.
It's sad that in England and America especially, and well, a lot of other places, that there isn't the attention that could be paid to help teach kids as they're growing up these kind of tools to use for themselves. Because in some Scandinavian countries, they actually teach what we would call self-hypnosis in schools to the kids.
But I mean, it's like, in America, you'll have a stage hypnotist come along to your prom.
I know.
The idea of somebody a hypnotist going to school in the UK just is not even on the table. It would never happen because people are just too scared of it. There, it's a shame really, because obviously it is a lot of fun.
So people need to go in advance, do they, to socialtrance.com? They can't just up on there. They've got to go and register, haven't they, for this event?
Go and register for the event. Keep an eye on the social media in case anything changes. I think I might have a few special guests, a few celebs that I'm trying to convince to come on and talk about their own anxiety problems. So we may have a few people coming on as well as part of it. So the platform may change. Just keep an eye on it. At the end of the day, everybody who registers on the site, you register with an email address. I'm certainly not collecting emails to spam you to death. That's not the case. The email is purely so that I can just let everybody know exactly where to go, how to log on, and also make sure it's a good event.
Excellent. So if everybody listening to this podcast or watching this video, which will go live today, the 5th of May 2020, because I'm going to rush this through to get it up and out, if you could do us the massive favour of sharing this audio podcast or sharing this video, and when you click share to share it, you will automatically be sharing the hashtag social trance, because that will already have been typed there. But if you could put that in as well into your bit and tell people to go to socialtrance.com so they can find out more about this event, then it will help spread the word to hopefully help potentially millions of people around the world this Sunday, the 10th of May 2020, to have a bit of fun, which laughter is one of the best medicines anyway. produces feel-good chemicals in the body, and let's face it, people are getting all stressed and fed up because we're all on lockdown. So there's the enjoyment factor, but also the fact Chris is going to help teach you and guide you through various techniques to help you deal with anxiety, which in itself, as a knock-on effect, helps you deal with stress and worry and fear, because they kind of all kind of embroider together, those things, don't they, Chris?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, most definitely.
So, if you know, what would your message be to bring this to an end, so that we can I can go and get this message out there? Obviously, people, socialtrance.com, the link's there.
Go to Social Trance, register, show your support for hypnotherapy in general, you know, and spread it. Let's get people talking about hypnotherapy. It's been proven, like it was 10 years ago, that if everybody starts talking about hypnotherapy, people start looking at it as a way of getting, you know, things sorted. I mean, I am doing some hypnotherapy at the moment, but I'm doing it for a microphone, and I just do it through the net. And there's no reason why, you know, we can't help people, you know, now. You know, the technology is there. You know, all you need is a microphone, and yeah, you know, let's get people talking about hypnotherapy. You know, that's, the more people talk about it, the more people will start to eventually accept it as you know, a really good way of dealing with issues. You know, but the strange thing is most people will have a story about somebody they know who went to see a hypnotist and stopped smoking and just stopped smoking. You know, so you know, it's not as commercially acceptable as I would like it to be, but I think we're certainly on the way, and the more we educate and the more demonstrations we do, and the more we get people to talk about it, the better it's going to be for the whole industry.
And for hypnotherapists watching or listening to this, I can honestly say, Chris, not only is he a top nice guy, but he's incredibly skilled at what he does. So have no fear whatsoever about sharing this. What I'm saying is I'm encouraging you to share this on your walls, so your potential clients could end up registering for this Sunday. That is not, too many people operate from a position of fear. That is actually not going to lose your clients. Even if they sign up for this Sunday, take part in Social Trance, and a deal and feel, as a percentage of people will, that their anxiety issues are dealt with positively and permanently. And a percentage of people will feel it to that level. Another percentage will just think that it's helped them immensely and then go and seek out a therapist for a bit further help. But it will not lose your clients, because they will feel a sense of gratitude towards you for having pointed them in the right direction, that in the future, if they've got something else they want to deal with, they'll think of you first, because you helped them by pointing them in the direction of socialtrance.com for the event this Sunday, the 10th of May. I'll leave the final word to my guest this week, Mr. Chris Hughes.
Just register for Social Trance. Let's see if we can just, you know, reach as many people as we can, and if we can get a few success stories out of it, the better.
Excellent. Hashtag Social Trance, your videos, your comments, your successes. Thank you, Chris. Bye for now.